morning, Saidi.
Good morning.
You're the director of the AIB Islamic Bank in Palestine.
Yes.
And so this is an interview for Al Safir newspaper. So at first, for our readers, could you please introduce yourself? What studies did you make? What was your career? And how long have you been working here?
I'm Saidi. I'm the general manager of the AIB Islamic Bank. Before coming to the AIB Islamic Bank, I was engaged with Al Bank now, National Bank, which was Arafah Microfinance Bank. And I was the leader of the team for establishment of the bank. I worked with them for 5 years. Before that, I was the deputy regional manager of Cairo Amman Bank. And before that, I was working with the Palestinian Development Fund and the Palestinian Banking Institution.
Okay. So why did you end up here? Why did you choose to work here?
Part of the reason is the Islamic banking. After the Islamic or the banking crisis, the international banking crisis, 2008, up maybe 2007 up to 2010, and during my efforts to understand what happened, I realized that Islamic banking has a lot to offer, and I could understand the difference between Islamic banking and traditional banking, which was not easy before. I'm studying the banking systems in general under the shadow of the crisis.
Okay. So we'll come back to the Islamic banking sector.
Yeah.
But first, could you talk about the banking sector in Palestine in general?
Yes.
Like, for example, how does it change, like the fact that Palestine does not have a central bank as such, in the sense that it's not an institution which is creating money, currency?
Yeah. Actually, we are working with 3 currencies, or 4 currencies now.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And of course, we can't issue our own currency.
Yeah.
It is because of different reasons. I think it's well known for everybody. Now, I can talk about the Islamic banking, the central banking role in general, and take into consideration that there is a difference between the function of the central bank of issuing currencies and the other supervision functions. And the central bank have mainly three kind of missions, activities. The first one is issuing the currency, which is of course out of our scope, we can't make it. The second thing, supervising the banking system in general. The third one is supervising the monetary situation and issuing the monetary policies.
Yeah.
Now,
concerning the other currencies like exchange rates.
Yes. Now, for the second purpose, which is now the core, the main purpose of the Palestinian Monetary Authority, which is supervision of the banking sector, I can say safely that we have one of the best supervision policies in the Middle East, at least in the Middle East, because it is very well prepared. We have the required technical know-how needed for that. We have the intention to make it like that, and we have started from where others have ended up.
What do you mean by that?
Supervision techniques, supervision requirements, for example, policies, programs. Of course, this is something needs time to be taught, and it's out of our main issue. But in general, we can say we have one of the best supervision policies and activities, maybe in the Middle East or more than that.
So how do you see that? Like, what are the results?
This is why we have solid banking sector.
Okay.
This is why the banking sector, unlike many other sectors, survive and prosper and make very good results.
Okay.
In comparison with many other banking sectors in the area.
Okay.
Although of the difficulties, the pressures, the problems facing the Palestinian situation, but nevertheless we have very good banking system, and partially it is because of the solid policies of the supervision of the BNB.
So it's not a problem that you don't have your own currency and you have to work with at least 4.
It's a problem for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, it makes our task very difficult.
Yeah.
But although of that, we are surviving and we are making very good job.
Okay. Okay. And also, I wanted to ask that the governor of the Palestinian Monetary Authority said in 2011 that there was a possibility for the creation of a Palestinian pound. So where are we today?
Central Bank?
The Palestinian Monetary Authority.
Yes, he said
that.
Yes, he said that there is room for establishing.
There is a possibility and they're working on it. So
Central Bank and currency?
Yeah.
I think issuing our own currency is very difficult.
Yeah.
And we can't make it in this stage. But of course he's saying what mission we have in mind,
okay,
what long-term goals we have in mind, and we are taking care to make it in the right time. But now, in this situation, I think it is not reasonable to issue our own currency because of many reasons, including the economic situation.
Okay.
Now, we have deficit
Okay.
in terms of trade deficit and financial deficit, where if you issue your own currency, it will be very weak and it will create very, very, very big and unlimited problems.
Okay. So I think that's all for the banking sector in general. I would like to know more about what Islamic finance is, like in general. What's the philosophy behind it?
Yeah.
Its history and its specificities.
Good. Islamic finance in general, the main three differences between Islamic banking and traditional banking is, first of all, avoid riba.
Avoid, sorry?
Riba. Riba means
Oh yeah, it's a...
lending money and getting money back
with
access.
So
money.
it's forbidding
Now,
interest rates.
Yes, yeah, which is of course forbidden in all of the religions, not only in Islamic religion. All of the religions, of course. You know, this of course comes as a result of avoiding the misuse of person to person, human being to a human being, the need of a human being. So we don't grant money.
Okay.
We just grant goods and services
directly.
The second thing is the mission of Islamic banking is to work directly in development and growth in economic sectors. The third thing is the mission of the Islamic banking in social participation and social responsibility. Those are, in general, the main differences between Islamic banking and traditional banking. This is in line with what we have over the globe of what's moral banking.
Moral banking.
Yeah. It is a movement, it is a trend, it is a requirement by people everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's just a small question, but in other religions, especially Christianity, interest rates is forbidden because you cannot sell time. Is it the same reasoning?
Yes.
It's the same thing?
Yeah. Okay. You can't sell time.
You cannot sell time.
Yes. And you have not to use the need of others by asking them to pay you back much more money while they can't.
Yeah, okay.
Because for some people who need some money for consumption and he's very poor, if you give him some money and asking him to give you back this money with 10% in addition, he will not be able to do that. This should be solved by other ways and means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you explain the growth of demand worldwide? You think that people are tired of the traditional banking system, especially for these reasons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. The history of Islamic banking starts by the 70s of last decade, last century.
Okay.
Last century. The 7 decades of last century. And that was started in the Islamic local communities, but now it has transformed to an international and a part of international banking systems.
Okay.
It started by few millions and two or three experiences, 2-3 banks, ended up now with 2 trillion.
Okay, where did it start?
It started in Egypt and in Gulf areas.
Okay.
Now it ended up after 5 decades only, which is very, very short period of time, having assets of $2 trillion,
okay,
working in around 70 countries,
okay,
having something like maybe 300 banking and financial institutions.
okay.
Now, the rapid and fast growth of Islamic banking, to my assumption, to my understanding, prevented the banks to make a deep development and actual development to end up with the actual banking institution.
Okay.
So we imitate traditional banking in many things because we didn't have enough time to make our own structure. This is one reason. The second reason, you can't work in legal vacuum. You need to have legal infrastructure for Islamic banking, which is not there so far. It's not enough, at least. There are some even now.
Okay.
Still. For example, if you want to issue sukuk, you need law for this. We don't have it so far.
What is sukuk?
Sukuk, it is the, bond?
Yeah.
It is the Islamic
version
of bond.
Okay.
Now, bond is a loan,
Mm-hmm.
sak is equity.
Okay.
There is a substantial difference between both of them.
Okay.
But they function the same. They allocate the need of the savers to invest in certain instruments,
Okay.
long-term or short-term liquidated instruments in the market that could be sold and to make capital appreciation and profit at the same time.
Okay.
While in bond to make capital appreciation and interest.
Okay.
So, this is of course as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So, the lack of the legal infrastructure and the limitation of time to go deeply make or have not given the people working in Islamic banking enough time to develop their own financial institution.
Okay.
Okay, we are functioning according to Islamic law, we are working according to the Islamic requirements fully.
Of course.
But there is a room, to my understanding, there is still room to develop the banking institution to be something with clear difference between Islamic bank and traditional bank.
Okay.
Why am I saying that? Because if you look at the liability of the Islamic bank, for example, and assets of the Islamic bank, it has substantial differences that requires administrative differences know-how differences, instruments, financial instruments differences in many fields.
Okay, because I was also wondering what is the link between Islamic finance and like the big banking institutions worldwide, such as the IMF and the World Bank. How does it work? Do you depend
We
on
are
them?
part of the international banking and financial system. Of course, we are integrated but again, this is one of the limitations and problems facing Islamic banking, because you have to work with a system built up out of your scope and out of your understanding for banking. So you have to adapt yourself to be part of the international system. For example, I need to have correspondent banks everywhere so as to facilitate international trade financing for our customers here. So I have to open accounts with traditional banks everywhere.
Okay.
Of course, I can't invest the amounts allocated for such purpose in these banks because the interest is haram.
Okay, yeah.
And even, of course, we invest it and we get this interest, but we don't consider this as part of our profit. We give it to poor people directly.
Does the zakat, right?
Not only zakat.
Okay.
We call it iradat in addition to zakat and social responsibility. We have resources called iradat ghair shar'iyya, means illegal profit.
Okay.
Why illegal? Because it's using non-Islamic instruments or activities. For example, as I mentioned to you, if somebody would like to export and import from China, for example, in Palestine, and we are or his bank, to facilitate his trade, we have to open an account with a Chinese bank, for example. You see, now giving him a guarantee for this kind of transaction requires having deposit from our bank there. Now this deposit, according to the traditional banks, gets interest rate, overnight interest rate.
Yeah.
Now this overnight interest rate, of course, couldn't be considered as part of our profit. We have to give it to good people directly.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
So this is one of the complications of the Islamic banking being part of the international banking system.
I see.
So if we have our own international structure, of course, our task would have been much better, much easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And so I think I'm good with the explanation of the Islamic finance. And I wanted to know how it works in Palestine, especially because I know that there are 15 like commercial or traditional banks here and 2 Islamic banks.
Yes.
So what shares in the markets is there for Islamic banks in Palestine, and do you think that there could be a growth in the next 3 years?
We have something like 10% or 11 now of the banking sector market.
In Palestine?
Of course, yes. Studies about Islamic banking share in the market indicates that we have at least 20%. Actually, we could reach 20%. This is our share.
Okay.
Why we don't have reached this share? It is because in Palestine, in particular. By the way, this percentage is in all of the Islamic countries. This is the minimum.
Okay.
In others, maybe 25, 30, whatever. But this is in general the percentage of Islamic banking everywhere.
Okay.
So it is logical to target 20%. Now, why we have only 10? Because in Palestine in particular, according to the studies conducted for this purpose, shows that, and according to our supervision, our observations, we can see this. You can say 5% would like to work with Islamic banking regardless of the service.
Okay.
But the additional 15, who are considered the base of our market in Palestine in particular, don't work with Islamic banking unless they have good services.
Okay.
So the better services we have, the more attractiveness we could have for people. So it's not easy to say that just we are an Islamic bank, we will have 20%. No, we should compete with other banks in the quality of our services.
Okay.
So this is what we are doing so far, maybe for 2-3 years now, and we could increase our share during this period,
Okay.
maybe by 2 to 3%. We used to be 8, now it's 11. So we could increase during the last 2 years
Okay.
our share by at least 3%.
Okay.
So this is the situation in Palestine.
Okay. And and I was wondering also, who are your clients? Like you said, like 5% would come here regardless of the service. And so who are they, and who are the other 15%?
You know, you can't say they belongs to certain geographical area or to certain class.
Mm-hmm.
There
Okay.
are people comes from different areas and from different classes.
Okay.
But by the way, this couldn't make at least profitable bank. If we rely on this just 5%, we will work under break even. So we will not cover our fixed cost.
Yeah.
So we have to compete with other banks on the basis of the quality of Islamic of banking services in general.
Okay. But are the 5% like religious people who would
Yeah.
only work with Islamic banking?
Yes, there are some religious people
Mm-hmm.
who will only work with Islamic banks, and if they don't have this instrument, they skip and they don't work with banks at all.
Okay.
So in Palestine there are only 5%. The other 15 prefer working with Islamic banks,
Mm-hmm.
provided that the Islamic banks offer
Right. Better
good
services.
Yes.
So how do you compete with commercial banks? How do you
We
average
compete by service.
service?
We compete by offering the best we could. Service and outreach. Actually, we need to have enough branches so as to reach our customers, our potential customers. So we have to invest, and we started 3 years ago by having very clear plan to invest in growth, invest
Okay.
in new branches, new services, digital services, new digital services, ATMs, and so forth. And we have developed and increased the size of the bank. We have doubled.
Okay.
Let's say we have doubled the size of the bank after introducing this new strategy
Okay.
during the last 4 years.
Okay.
Why? Because we realized that if we depend only on the label of Islamic banking, it will not be enough. So we have to offer better services to people. In this way, we could attract the 15% who prefer, but,
Okay. Okay.
and it's logical.
And in which countries can you find the AIB Islamic Bank? And do you have like
We are a
demand
Palestinian.
from abroad also?
No, we have a Palestinian public shareholding company.
Okay.
Period. We don't have branches outside.
Mm-hmm.
We have 12 branches in Palestine, and we are planning to make an additional, maybe up to 8 branches during the coming 5 years.
Okay.
To have 20 branches, and we are working in Gaza and West Bank,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay. So no abroad growth
No.
for the moment. Okay.
No, we have partners and correspondent banks
Okay.
everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Europe, United States, China, and Arab world. Yes, we are integrated part of the banking, international banking system.
Okay. And so to conclude, like a little funny question, do you think that the Islamic banking system could how to say that, could come over the traditional banking system? Do you think it could be better, like worldwide? Do you think it has an international?
I'm sure. Yes, international. Yeah, this is a very good question. As I mentioned at the very beginning, that we started to meet and to work for the local communities, to meet the needs
Yeah.
of the local local community, the Islamic local. But we understand, we realize by time that we are not working in the local market. We are working in the international, everywhere. We are working in all of the continents in the world now, and we have found that our services are مطلوبة, are demanded all over the world. So now, what is the challenge we have to be an integrated part, actual integrated part of the international banking system, as a unique part of the international banking system. We need to develop our bank much more than now, by making specific changes in the departments required to run the bank inside the bank. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, the nature of our liabilities, it dictates that we have to use it in a different way than the traditional banks. Traditional bank have a deposit, and all of the risk is his own risk, and he has to pay back the deposit regardless of whether he make profit or lose or loss or whatever, in addition to the interest amount. In the Islamic banking, we have what we call akad mudarabi, meaning that partnership between someone who have know-how and another one who have money. And the risk in this kind of transaction is the risk of the owner of the money. You see, so in such kind of deposits, you can say we are out of risk. But in other of course, kind of deposits, we are partner in risk. In other kind of deposits, we have fully the risk is the bank risk. So you have to run and invest these kinds of resources in a different way than the traditional bank. You need to make partnership, direct partnership. Direct partnership needs to have different kind of administrative structure. This is one thing. The second thing, you need different kind of laws and legislations, which is not enough, as I mentioned in the beginning. You need, in addition to that, new kind of institutions, intermediate institutions, so as to help the bank in running his own kind of transactions. For example, in partnership, if I have hundreds of partnerships in the market or mudarabat in the market, I can't run them directly because I don't have the capacity. So I need to have kind of rating institutions to make rates for these institutions that to enable me to understand what I'm doing and to help me in running my money in good mudarabat.
Which is separate from the already existing rating institutions.
Yes, sure. New specialized rating institutions for this purpose. Like we need, of course, another kind of intermediate institutions for sukuk. So you are talking about three things, three main changes: legal, local, legal changes, administrative changes inside the bank, and structural changes in the outsourcing, in the companies that give me outsourcing services. For example, we have legal and external auditor now. You need to introduce new kind of institutions that could help in running the participations or mudarabat or make evaluations about them and give me. So this is a new kind of institutions that should be structured.
So you're looking for an international institution?
Yes.
That would be competing with the IMF or in collaboration?
In collaboration.
Yeah.
We could collaborate, we could make all of these things in collaboration. It's easy to make it, but we have to make it. Without that, we can't make our uniqueness, our actual unique banking structure, Islamic banking structure.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think I'm done with the questions.
You are welcome.